Bryce Tubbs. Today I want to come with you live to just talk about number one, how one of my mentorship students got three partnerships, two high ticket clients, and one cross sell into tax planning for a total of $8,000 collected in the first month of working together. So I took some very detailed notes, just very, very detailed notes, kind of outlining exactly what we're talking about today. So I want to share it with you. It might look like a huge amount. It's not. I'm going to probably knock this out about 15, maybe 20 minutes because I really want to kind of condense the information so you guys can go and utilize this and make it very tangible for you. If you're watching this thing live, go ahead and comment down below hashtag team live so I can interact with you. I can give you guys some goodies. I can give you guys different things and just make it easier for you. If you watch this on the replay, type in hashtag team replay. I'll also leave you like something as a result of that as well. And then finally, if you want some help, like maybe I wasn't able to answer one of your questions, you have just a burning question about growing your business, right? Hashtag connect. And if it's like on Facebook or Instagram, I'll be able to reach out to you and answer a question you might have. And then finally, if you want some help growing your business and you're tired of maybe making a lot of mistakes that cause most people to fail, maybe you just don't know what you don't know, you want to go hit a goal, you want to be able to spend more time with your family, but at the current pace you're going, it's just not really feasible. Go ahead and click on the link inside the description, either above or below the video. Book a call with me or my team and see if I can help you out. See if this is the best opportunity, the best option for you and your family to reach your goals. So let's kind of dive into this thing. So number one is going to be mindset. So a lot of people kind of get upset like, Bryce, what do you mean by mindset? Okay. You always need to be looking to help people who value and work. So I'm kind of reading it. My handwriting's kind of trash. So I'm not going to be reading directly word for word right this. So you need to be looking for people who both value your work and capital A, capital N, capital E, and have the budget to pay high ticket monthly prices. Okay. Now there's a lot of people that are very willing to work with you, but they're just not able to pay it, right? Their budget is too low. Now, when you're first getting started, oftentimes like we start our business so we can help business owners out. Now that's great when your bills are covered and stuff, but if you need to make money quickly, you generally need to work with people that can afford to pay you. One good phrase that I heard a long time ago is like, if you work with people who can't pay, pretty soon you're going to become a person who can't pay. Right? If you're always working for free, always like doing volunteer work and stuff, it's very hard for you to pay your bills, pay contractors, pay investments, just pay for things to grow your business forward. So the first thing is making sure you're working with people who are able to pay. But the second caveat and the opposite of that is there are a lot of people that are willing to pay with huge cash reserves, but they're not really willing to spend. Now, in a lot of cases, those people are just as bad as people who can't. So we kind of have that happy balance, have that happy medium, but we need to have both of those characteristics, willingness and ability to spend. For example, I had one student join a mentorship program, and on the call we were talking about when she was joining the program, right? She was talking about there was this one client who she had who, when she set her price point of like, I think it was like $500 a month, the person basically cried poverty, right? When she actually got inside the person's book, they had about $1.5 million in cash, right? Sitting inside the bank after saying they couldn't afford to pay her $500 per month, right? That's not what you want. You want to make sure that you actually have people that actually like what you do and they're willing to spend the money. Otherwise, it just doesn't make any sense. It's just way too challenging, just way too hard. Now, the next thing is remember, okay, so even though we're looking for people who have the ability to spend, like if you're asking for about like $3,000 to $5,000 per month, I mean, it's not really that much money if you really think about it. So to kind of put in perspective, right? Think about think about some of these business owners, what they actually sell. So for example, the example I love using is we'll say even like a solar, like someone who sells like solar panels or for houses or for buildings. On average, their average sales between like five to about $10,000 for residential, if not $20,000, depending on the size of the house. If they even sell it to businesses, some of these businesses will pay between 30 to about $100,000 for solar panels on their roof, right? Because it's saving all this energy, saving all this time, right? You're asking for $3,000 to $5,000 per month. Some of you guys aren't even asking. Some of you guys are asking for like $3,000 to $5,000 per year, right? And it's just like it's only one sale. Like if they make one sale every single month, they're able to pay for your services, right? It's not that much. They have teams of people who are constantly selling. They're making millions of dollars per month. They can afford to pay, $5 grand, right? Now that's not every single company, but it's a lot more consistent, a lot more feasible than what most people who are getting started in business think, right? Because oftentimes when we're getting started, we kind of view money still as like we're like someone inside of corporate America, right? We're getting paid like, 6 grand, but you're working for like these like, 8-figure, 9-figure, 10-figure companies. It's like just giant companies, right? And, money's hard. People don't really want to pay for a certain amount of money. You have to give away 50,000 hours per week in order to get, like 6 figures for salary, right? It's different when you have your own business, right? Because they're paying you as a contractor. They're thinking of you a little bit differently. They're paying more for a result that you're going to get, which in a lot of cases is going to be like clarity, visibility, understand the numbers, the ability to scale, the ability to scale further, the ability to scale more profitably, the ability to actually know what the profit margins are rather than to the end of the year. They kind of like find out, oh, I had money in the bank, but I end up losing money, right? It's more about those kind of tangible things. So paying you more for a result rather than just the time that you're spending actually doing the work. Now, once you start learning how to do that, and once you start learning how to communicate more value, that becomes a lot easier for you to get contracts like that. Up until then, yeah, you are going to be selling a lot of your time because that's how most people know how to market, right? Most people say, I'm going to work for you for X amount of hours. I'm going to do this. 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 I'm going to do this, right? Because they don't really understand how to sell value. When you understand how to say, okay, I can help you go and get clarity around your numbers. I can help you know exactly what your cash flow is. I can help you know exactly what the outcome of this advertising campaign is going to be. When you start talking in terms of value and what the person actually gets, the results rather than the inputs, the outputs, right? So the input is like, you're going to do this, you're going to do this, you're going to run reports, you're going to look at this, 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 right? The output, what the client is going to get is the thing that actually causes them to see you differently, because in a lot of cases, they can tangibly compare how much they're giving you compared to how much they're getting. And oftentimes, the bigger the company, or even if the company is doing about $1 million per year, anywhere between about 500,000 to about $5 million per year is kind of this range where they can pay you like 3,000 to like $7,000 per month. When you're inside of that range, they can start tangibly really seeing the value of what they're getting because they have numerical metrics and estimates. When you're doing your time, I mean, it's kind of like they don't really value your time. Like as mean as that kind of sounds, most people do not really value your time because they're going to say, well, how can we get you to do like less of it, right? That's why there's this giant push for like automations, robots, and different things like that. It's because they don't really value time. All they really care about is the output that someone is going to be doing, right? So always talk in terms of outputs, and it makes it a lot easier for business owners to want to give you more money. Because think about this, money always flows based on the amount of value you provide before, during, and after you work with someone. Now, if you learn how to master this, you will have an abundance of people coming to you. Okay. And the key thing is coming to you, right? Because word travels fast when you're doing good work. And a lot of people will start knowing your name. It only takes a few clients, it takes a few key partnerships for you to start building that traction to start going and growing your business a lot faster, right? Now, keep in mind, again, it's not based on your time. It's not just doing stuff for free. That's not really that valuable. Actually, if you do stuff for free and the business owner didn't trust you enough to pay you money for it, they generally don't value it. It's not just getting free work, but then oftentimes they're going to find like problems. They're going to say it's wrong. They're going to say, oh, I don't really listen to the advice you give me. It's very hard to kind of like make that translation happen when you're just giving away your time for free. Now, so value can be content. It can be conversations. It can be relationships. It can be you sending referrals to them. It could be that you it's more based on the relationship. It's kind of like value and actually being around you. So let's say, for example, you offer like monthly bookkeeping services, but you also have like a really good understanding of the tax code, right? So being able to just kind of tell advice here and there inside of your content, that's generally really great because it doesn't really take away from your service. People still feel like they're learning something from you, and they still feel like they're getting closer and like developing a relationship for you. Like one thing that I do is I do like a lot of like videos. So like you guys might see, right? I do a lot of videos for like my mentorship program. Generally, for me, at the point that I'm at in my business, I get mostly referrals from my accounting and bookkeeping business. So I don't really need to make a lot of like video content, like written content for that, right? But when you're first starting out, you can make good content that gets people to come to you and they already want to work with you. Like I had a lady sign up yesterday. She actually signed up with both businesses. So basically what happened was she's been watching a lot of my videos for like, I think like a year and a half, she said, right? And she just really enjoyed a lot of the stuff. She's used a lot of the principles that are inside of it. And she started growing her business. And she came and she actually wanted to go and like quadruple her business. So she's doing about 5 grand a month. She wants to get about $20,000 per month. But in order to do that, she subcontracted a number of work to me as well. So not only did she sign up for mentorship program, but she also gave me bookkeeping clients by just basically taking what I told her to do, getting to 5 grand a month, and then subcontract all the work out to my firm. So now she's going to keep growing even faster and faster. But it came from value before I ever even knew that she existed. right? And that's how you should give value. It's like, I don't really care if maybe you're watching this and you don't really buy from me. It's like, I want to help you, but I mean, if you don't work with me in the future, I mean, it's not really that big of a deal on my end. It's more going to hurt, you, because maybe you won't hit your goals as fast. But it's kind of like, that's not the reason why I make these videos. I don't make these videos just to get clients, right? That's one component of it. But a lot of cases, I just want to kind of spread out some value in case maybe you actually refer someone to me, or maybe you send someone to my video, or you send someone to my Facebook group, my YouTube channel, and maybe someone else will buy from me then. Because I don't really mind if you don't buy. It's just we want to make sure you're getting some value out of it. But that's how you should be going and giving value to your market. Now, cool, cool, cool. Next thing is attitude. Okay, so attitude is actually the opposite of value. So a bad attitude is the opposite of value. If you have a good attitude, it's going to maintain that value. If you have a bad attitude, it can actually reverse. So you can negate all of that great value by not showing up or being the person of value. So I had this client. One thing we do inside of my mentorship program is like, if you don't sign up a client, or even if you do sign up a client, you send me a copy of the sales call that you did, and I basically review it and say, okay, this is where we could have improved, this is where we could, maybe we lost them. When I reviewed hers, well, she was probably about, like, I think like a week into the program, and then she did a call, right? When I listened to that call, it was so painful. The person basically wanted to pay her money, but she basically did everything in her power. Just, it was, I don't know if it was like subconscious or conscious, to like just not come across friendly, not want to work with the person, not want to help them. Like I think it was kind of like, as we kind of worked through things, it was more of a confidence, because she just didn't think that the company, because it was a pretty nice sized company that had a really good budget. She didn't really trust that they would actually want to work with her. So she ended up like just really sabotaging herself. We had to do a lot of like deep work about, what is her value? What is she worth? Can she actually handle a client like that? And once she started like learning how to do that, then she did go and get clients that were bigger size. But in that particular moment, she lost the client. She was like, man, they just didn't want to buy. And I said, from the moment the person got on the phone, they said, I'm looking for someone like you. I saw your we have like different marketing campaigns and different things we do. I saw your marketing, I saw your thing. I talked to someone, one of your referrals and like one of your references. They really gave good work about, or gave good they spoke highly of you. So I really liked it. And like the whole call, she was basically saying why she didn't think that they would work, why she didn't really like the way that it was going. It was just like, it was just very hard to listen to. But it killed the deal. And that was about a 3 grand a month client right there sitting in front of her, right? But it was because of the attitude. So once you started learning how to get better attitude, people started continuing the value that you worked so hard to gain inside the market and the relationship building. Then all you have to do is just go on the consultation call, continue being that person of value, which is who you are. Don't sabotage yourself, and you'll be able to go and get the clients a lot faster. Now, next is on to the marketing. Okay. So, what did she actually do to grow her business? So, number one was about rethinking business growth. So, if you have multiple services, then your key thing to be thinking about average client value, because then you need a lot less clients. Most people are just thinking, like, how can I go get one client? Right. And oftentimes they're thinking, like, how can I get a client between like 300 to like $700 a month? Instead, what you need to be thinking about is how can you start getting clients between $500 to $5,000 per month? Now, in this particular case, there are 4 services that she had. 5 services. We'll talk about the fifth one in a little bit, but 4 main services. Number one are cleanups, right? So that's just organizing books, getting sure that they're on a really good financial foothold. Maybe they've done some work that was incorrect in the past. So she's going back and actually fixing a lot of that, right? So generally for cleanups, we're looking to get anywhere between about $6,000 to about $20,000 for the cleanup. Okay, so the next service is going to be your monthly recurring services. Service after that is going to be like tax planning or tax strategy. Service after that is going to be your tax prep. The fifth service can be like QuickBooks training. So going back to number one, whenever we do a cleanup, again, we want to be between $6,000 about $20,000 that you're selling the cleanup for. Now, this needs to be turned into like an event. Okay. So in order for you to like get good flow through from your other services, so they don't just like get the cleanup and just stop or disappear or ghost you halfway through, is number one, set up really good expectations about like the timing of when things are going to be done. What does the delivery output look like? And then maybe making sure that you actually have scheduled time in to speak and actually update the client on what the work is actually like being done. Where are you in terms of finishing the work and completion of the project? One key thing a lot of people struggle with is like they'll do the work and like the client pays them, client gets them the work. They take like, X amount of time to do it, but then the client just randomly goes, so what's going on? Why are you not done yet? And the person's like, well, I need X amount of time. I need this, need this, I need this. You cannot start communication about the completion of the project when the client is reaching out to you complaining about where is the work. You need to do that preemptively. So generally, you need to be doing that when you actually sign up. You need to be giving them proper expectations of when are you going to contact them, when should this be done, and then making sure they have an understanding of like what are the different milestones to make sure you guys are on track for completion. And once you have those milestones in place, then it becomes very easy for you to actually turn those into events. Be like, hey, we got this milestone done. Oh my gosh, we're super excited. We're actually a little bit ahead of schedule. Next, we got this milestone done. We're super ahead of schedule. Blah, blah, blah. Let them look at it while it's going on. So you never get that thing of when is it going to be done? Or why are you taking a million years? Or why'd you not do this in a day? It's just a little bit of bookkeeping, right? You don't want that. That's because they just can't see. Now, the second thing you need when you're selling cleanups is you need to be able to sell the cleanups based on if they're going to be doing monthly or either monthly recurring services or yearly renewals, right? So if they're going to be doing like a yearly tax plan, I consider those more like yearly renewing or more like yearly clients rather than like monthly clients, right? But if they don't want to do like a tax plan, I need for them to do some sort of like monthly services. If they can't do that, I'm generally going to like refer it out to somebody else, to be completely honest with you. The reason why is because I really like that monthly recurring revenue. At the stage that I'm in my business, I just really want to make sure that if I'm going to be doing a cleanup, I need to make sure that I'm going to get something long term as a result of it. Right now, a lot of people don't have that, and a lot of people kind of wonder why they can get up to like $3 grand or $5 grand a month, but always comes crashing back down to zeros because you don't have any recurring revenue inside of your business, right? So once you determine that they're willing to do that, next is going to be trying to sell your monthly services between $500 to $5,000 per month. Now, some people ask like, well, who's going to be willing to pay me like $5 grand a month? It really comes down to niche, right? There's a couple different ways you can niche. Number one, you can niche based on the industry. Number two, you can niche based on the personality of the business owners. Um, the second one is a little bit harder, like niching based on the personality of the business owners, because you have to be able to understand, is the business or even this type of business capable of paying me within that range, right? So in order to actually be number two, where you're niching based on personality, you actually need to be able to do number one, which is actually knowing which niches are going to pay you the most money, right? I generally, if I'm going to be selling like monthly recurring services, I tend to stay away from like independent contractors. So that's like a very popular one that almost everyone, not everyone, but like most people when they start, they're like, I want to work with truckers, or they want to work with like barbers, estheticians a little bit different, more of like the actual salon stylist. They want to work with like a who's another good example of like one, like a photographer. Photographers, like it's whenever they're just a one person, it's very, very hard for them to really go and hit really huge revenue goals very quickly, right? Generally, those businesses are going to be generally capped. If it's just them, they're the one independent contractor, like they don't have a business underneath them, like it's just them. Those are generally capped off in between about 100,000 to about $2 million if they're doing it themselves, and like if they're like a really like a really highly paid consultant, right? Really highly paid consultants can be independent contractors, but they can get up to that, 1 million to about $3 million per year in a lot of cases, right? But if you're talking like a barber, it's just like one barber, they can only do so many haircuts. They can only do so many haircuts. In some cases, like yes, they can go and be like a celebrity barber, and they can charge, like $1,000 per hour, right? But that's not the norm. If I'm going to be building a business, I need to be thinking about like the norm, right? Instead, I'm thinking about companies like construction. I'm thinking about nonprofits can be good if you understand what you're doing inside of there. I like doing cannabis is another good industry. Another good industry is auto shops, but the owners can be a little bit cheap in some cases. I like therapists when they have more of like an agency model where it's like one therapist you're talking to, but they have like 10 different people underneath them. Now, barbers and salon owners and things like that can be good if they are the owner of the barber shop and they're collecting rents from the other people who are the independent contractor underneath them. So in that case, you go after the head. And then if you know that you're getting about, let's say $1,000, $2,000 per month from the head of the barber shop, then you can start going after the independent contractors. That's just adding to your average client value. And you can just treat the whole business as the client, and then like just have like the independent contractors in your mind as like part of that contract. So it just makes it a lot easier for you to be able to grow, right? But it starts with niche development. Once you understand the niches and you understand that maybe take like 3 or 4 niches that can afford to pay you in those higher ranges, now you can start niching based on personalities. Because in some cases, you might have a business owner sitting in front of you who can afford to pay you, who is willing to pay you, but it's just kind of a drag to talk to. And in which case it's like, you can refer them to somebody else or you can take them on. But if it's not really the right personality and you're already good money wise, then in some cases it's just easier to go after like personality wise that matches with you because you're actually going to like working with them long term. Because in a lot of cases, these companies that can afford to pay you more money, they're going to want to work with you long term. So you got to make sure it's somebody that you actually want to work with if that's important to you. If you don't really care about who you work with, you're like, I just want to make the money so I can, live a better life, so I can do what I want to do. I don't even care about talking to the client. Then, it's a little bit different. But at least for me, I like talking to people who I actually work with because it allows people to cross sell, upsell, and get referrals. um, We'll skip tax planning and tax prep because most people who are in this audience generally are going to want to do that. I might do another video that talks about like how to do tax planning as far as like selling and getting tax planning clients. Ideally, what you want to do for tax planning is you're trying to charge about 10% to about 30% of what you're actually going to be saving them in terms of taxes. The challenge when it comes to multiple services though is it breaks down if like they need all four of the services but they don't trust you to do any one of the services, right? That's really hard because if like they need to clean up but they don't really trust you enough to pay you like a high amount of money, or they need monthly services but they also need clean up but they don't want you to do that, or they need tax plan but they don't really see that you can actually help them out, it can get really really tough really quickly because now you're trying to sell multiple services all the same call. They don't want any of them from you. And it's very, very frustrating, very confusing, especially because they're going to tell you they have all these different needs, right? So that can be very challenging. Um, Next thing, the fifth service that I really like is QuickBooks training. So she got a really good sized client from doing QuickBooks training. So the way we do QuickBooks training is that QuickBooks training is more of the glue that gets people to stick with you way longer. And if someone says no to you on a consultation call for, let's say your higher ticket monthly services, doing QuickBooks training is actually really good. Now, remember, we're only doing this so people can afford to pay us, right? I generally don't want to do QuickBooks training with someone who cannot turn into either a monthly client or really nice size cleanup or tax planning or tax prep if you offer it, right? You need to make sure that if you're going to be doing and spending your time with someone, they have the ability to upsell into a much higher package. Okay. Remember that. It's super, super, super important. Okay. There's no, it's hard to explain, but it's like if you're trying to run a business, the first thing you have to do is you have to get to a really good amount of money per month so you don't have to worry about bills, right? So your living expenses are paid for, your bills are paid for, you're not coming out of your long-term saving, and there's not as much pressure. Once you have that kind of base established, now you can start working people, either for free or at a reduced cost, because now you can go more into helping people because you're in a very stable position and you know your business is going to be there for 3 years, 5 years, 10 years from now. Until you have that, it's generally easier if you just go with like the better quality clients that can pay you more. Now, another thing, whenever we're going to be doing QuickBooks training, they need to be able to pay us, but also we need to make sure that they either have a trust objection, a fear objection, or a value objection. Trust me, they just don't trust us enough because they just haven't known enough about our background. Fear means that someone else has messed up their books, so maybe they want to do it themselves for a minute, right? So they're just afraid that they hire you, then you're going to mess up even more. A value is they just don't really understand exactly what goes into getting the books done right. So they just don't value it. So like they have the money, they just don't want to spend $2,000 or $3,000 a month because they just don't really see the value in it, right? So from there, we like to do about 3 to 4 sessions. Now, all it takes is about 3 to 4 QuickBooks training sessions if done right. Okay. Now we do teach inside the program like the specific way we do QuickBooks training, so you can actually like get it. It's more of like a consultative style necessarily than just a training session because we want to make sure that they actually want to work with us, and we don't want to have to do a million sessions, right? Because it doesn't scale if you have like 30 clients that want to meet with you for an hour a week. And that's 30 hours a week right there. And like, I mean, that's an okay amount of money. Let's say that you're charging about $150 per session times about 4 weeks times about 30. I mean, that's about 18 grand a month. I mean, that's good, but it's like as soon as you stop doing those sessions, then your income kind of like drops down, right? That's kind of why we have that base of that monthly recurring first. And then we're trying to basically get them off of the QuickBooks training as much as possible. Because even though it is good money, $18,000 a month, we do want to make sure we have like a business that can, give us a little bit of time value and time freedom as well. So generally how I like to do is if we're going to be charging like a monthly, right, we're charging between about 500 to about 750, or within about 30 to 100% of what the monthly charge would have been for them to do the monthly services. The reason why is because, again, we just want them to tap out. We want them to basically see that, we're good at what we do. They trust us a little bit more because they're actually getting some proximity to us. or they finally can see, oh, this is a lot harder than what I thought it was. And now they tap out, they're like, okay, can you just do it for me? Right? That's the key words. Can you do it for me? Okay. In which case you just say, okay, cool. So all the unused sections can have to be rolled over into your first month of service, right? So now it's a lot easier. So we sell it as a package. We like to sell between 3 to 4 sessions inside of that package. Now, if you want to know how to sell that, go ahead and write QB training sales inside the comment. I can make a follow-up video that just talks about how to sell QuickBooks training, both either as a package or as one-on-one hourly sessions. I prefer to do as a package, but to each their own. So we can actually kind of talk about that. Uh, cool. Another thing too, so notice how I said between 30 to 100% of what the monthly charge would have been if they went to your monthly services. Now, I prefer to do this with business owners where if you we have like a pricing tool we like to give to the students side of the program. And if the pricing tool says the person is anywhere between about 750 to about $1,500 per month, that's kind of like the range that we will do QuickBooks training with them. Anything over about like 2,000 to about $3,000 per month worth of services, like the business owner really shouldn't be doing it themselves. Like they won't want to do it themselves. Like they just understand. It's going to be just more like 1 to 2 sessions of like, yeah, this is not for me. Generally going to use a little more expletives, especially if they're super busy, and then they're just going to turn it over, right? But if they're more in that like like a smaller kind of stage where they can do things themselves, or kind of thinking more of like a small business owner rather than as like a larger business owner, then the QuickBooks training is a really good kind of like way to offset that and to change their mindset over time. So hopefully you learned something new. If you want some help growing your business, I know that this is kind of like a short teaser. For some people, the information might be overwhelming. For some people, it might be right in line with what you've been thinking. Either way, if you want some help growing your business, you're tired of doing it, you're on your own, you're tired of trying to figure this stuff out and maybe just not moving as fast as what you want, or maybe you're growing, but you're just noticing that there's a kind of a limit on your time, which you're gonna be running into very quickly. Go ahead and click on the link inside the description, either above or below the video. Book a call with me and see if I can help you. I'd love to see if it's a good fit. If it is, I will make you an offer. I'll say, hey, this is exactly how much it costs. This is the time frame it's going to take to reach our goals. Do you want to do this? Yes or no? And then if you feel like it's the right time, we can get started right then and there, schedule your onboarding call, and move off to the races towards your goals and towards getting what you want. If that's you, I'll see you on the call. If you're not quite ready, I will see you inside.